All right, it's 12 o'clock. Let's call the Economic Development Authority regular meeting to order for Wednesday, May 27th, 2026. Please call roll.
Pokrzywinski.
Here.
Black.
Here.
Stai.
Here.
Grinde.
Here.
Hecht.
Here.
Horken.
Here.
Helms.
Here.
Approved minutes from regular meeting 4/22/26.
Second.
Please call roll. No, don't have to. Bills and communication. If you don't like it, Carla, please. Or read.
Can I just make one comment?
Absolutely.
It's a little higher than normal just because we paid property taxes for our property and we make one payment, so we just do it all in April instead of May or in October. So we just pay the whole amount.
Any questions, comments, or concerns? Nothing? Seeing nothing? Hearing nothing? Reports, delinquencies. Got to let you say it.
There are none.
Good job, thank
Yes.
you. Director's reports.
Okay, so the last few weeks have been pretty much extreme immersion into tax increment financing and tax abatement, into the state statutes and trainings, and working with different professionals who live and breathe this so I can understand it, to be able to explain it to our community and city council and EDA board. So while that's been going on, we got to go to the ribbon cutting for the dispensary, which opened, so that was really exciting and hit the news. And then just various different outreaches with businesses in terms of support and things that they're looking for. And I think that's about it. We went down to the Capitol last month to testify for a Border Cities bill, but that unfortunately was not wrapped into this year's legislative bill, so it's a little frustrating. It's been 2 for 2 now, but that we've not had that bill go forward to expand the use of the Border Cities employee credits and then increase it. And then Moorhead had also wanted to expand the use of it in terms of like how their city is district for it. So maybe we'll have better luck next year.
Multiple calls with the realtor. Is anything moving forward? Is he all doing good?
Yes. Actually, we are in the process of finishing up a sale for one that's on Pinehurst, and then I got a call about another one that's interested in buying on another area. So we have 10, and if we can, that would bring us down to potentially 8. And then somebody inquired when I talked to them before this meeting about the outlots, and I was like, I think that'll be coming soon, but it's not going to be probably in the next couple of years. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it becomes something developable soon, but
Excellent, huh?
yeah.
All right, financial reports. Carla.
Thank you. Everybody got the reports for each fund, got emailed to you. So in the packet is just the cash balances, and as you can see, we're doing well in all of them. And the EDA general, which is a negative number because we do budget to move that at the end of the year. We do a transfer at the year end, but we budget that transfer. So, any questions?
Any questions for Carla on the financial reports? Seeing and hearing none. All right. Social media report.
So we hit a new high score. Our April 27th post with Mayo Manufacturing is actually our top post for the year in terms of performance. And the views overall in the past month duration are up substantially. Last month was 69,000, and we're up to 105,000. And then similarly with our interactions, last month was 836 interactions, and this month was 1,500. So people are enjoying our content, and our stories are performing well. We get lots of good hiring posts that we just reshare to our story, so it gets a little more traction for the local businesses to know who's hiring. But overall, Brenda's doing a great job on getting content and making articles that are enjoyed by the readers on social media and the paper.
Good job.
Brenda, would you ever consider like doing something around the LaFave Park, like new boat ramp area for a post? Or have we done that?
I think she had like a light on or something.
Do you got anybody to interview on that, Reed? The reason I say that is because I was down there last week or a couple weeks ago. I drove through because I like to look at things, and my wife was like, "There's a kayak launch down here and all this stuff. Like, when did this happen?" And I was like, "Well, I was part of it, you know." But I think it's so. If we could get the word out there of that, it's a beautiful space down there now.
Absolutely.
Reed wrote the grant for it.
Yeah, sounds
But
like
we
you
could
got the
probably
guy to
get somebody,
interview.
we could get somebody from the fishing club too.
Yeah,
To speak
maybe
on
a
it, but-
catfish.
Yeah, we
like,
can find that.
guy. I just think it's
I know some
it's a
people
cool
that
thing to
fish.
highlight. I know Cabela's does a good job, or Bass Pro does a good job too. When you're
Yeah, it'd be worth highlighting the
yeah.
donations they've made
Yeah.
year over year. At
Yeah.
Bass Pro, if you go in and shop and they ask you to round up your purchase,
Yep.
some of those funds have been going to LaFave Park for 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So probably upwards, I would bet we're at $15,000 or more that we've gotten from Bass Pro.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can work with you, Brenda, on that. Absolutely.
All right, unfinished business, TIF and tax abatement.
Okay, so this proposal has gone through many different steps. I brought it to the loan committee back in early April, and there was a consensus of, yes, we want to bring this forward. So then it went to the board, EDA board, and the board also was interested in bringing this concept forward. The first council work session on the 12th of May looked at, yes, this is something we want to include, and what a potential draft policy could look like. And our work session last night looked at a final draft, which is included in your packet, that could be proposed. I had some really good feedback from one of the council members, just for clarification and better understanding, and I'll work to add those in. But the key points for this that I'm hoping the board can kind of dissect and look at today as we make this important decision on this policy is it's readable for everybody, because not everybody understands legal jargon and state statutes. It's very difficult for just an average person to understand what's going on. So we want our policies to be readable, clear in what they're prescribing and the expectations for each party. We want to mitigate any sort of risk and minimize the possibility of the city having to have any sort of failed projects in the past by controlling that risk in the front end. And then specifically to our community that's forward-thinking in terms of, will there be spin-off industries from this? Can we expect that there's a large public benefit or some sort of positivity in the future? And Ellers, our financial advisor, advised us it would be wise to add in at the back the disclosures, which are kind of a full power lies with the governing bodies, either the city, their EDA, where they can waive or add, they can accept or decline, they can award or not award, anything they want. So while this is a policy in place, the full determination is made by community elected officials, instead of having just an unclear policy that can lead to bitter feelings and anger. So I don't know if everyone's had a chance to read through it, or if there's things that you felt that you've seen in other communities that have worked or failed, or things that you'd like to see in our policy. But this is what I was hoping to devote the meeting to.
So it doesn't exceed 25% of the total project?
Correct.
Okay. And then I also read something about beautification or using older buildings as a priority, or is it pretty much, is there a limit on how many we do?
For incentives, so ideally I'm one person, and there's a lot of reporting that goes on with TIF and with tax abatement, and I have a pretty healthy workload, so not that I want to discourage using incentives. I would like it to be prudent because I don't want to dig a bigger hole than I can handle. Also, it would be ideal if the council or even EDA can recommend what goals we want for, say, X number of years. So say 5 years, we want to work on blighted buildings, and we're only going to do, one TIF, one tax abatement, or whatever is decided, and then that's the focus. And we can accept RFPs for that, and it's very controlled. And then the next 5 years, we do, say, redevelopment for housing, and we accept, say, 3 TIF in that point, whatever the case may be, in kind of a focused way, because I feel like a lot of communities have it like open season. There's a parcel of land, and it's like, okay, let's jump on that one. It becomes very like tunnel vision. I would like it to be, ideally, at the council's willing and EDA board, something more planned.
More direction from them, I would say. So we focus more on the business instead of this housing. Because everybody's trying to focus on housing, and the wheels just spin and spin and spin.
So one thing to consider is our vacancy in East Grand Forks is 1.99%. A healthy rate is between 5 to 10%. So we are extremely housing strapped. And if we want more business to come in, we need to figure out where we're going to have them live.
So, kind of,
Catch-22.
yeah.
Unless the businesses want to add like a housing component, which that was talked about a little bit in Grand Forks when I was there, is having like workforce housing as part of like the employer's responsibility. But I don't know how long-term that plays out.
Do you know what percentage Grand Forks is at on their housing?
It's about 4, so no, 3.55, based on the Greater Grand Forks apartment study.
Yeah.
And I only ask that because obviously, we'd love to build businesses and have people build here, move here, and grow our community as well. But if we have adjoining community that has the housing available, especially when you look at different tax incentives to live over there, it doesn't mean that we still can't focus on business where the housing isn't still available.
Are these mostly for new businesses coming in, or is it to revitalize like downtowns, or it can be anything?
So these two are typically used for a large business that is super impactful. Like, for instance, if we were to get like a massive headquarters or a Costco or something where you're like, we want this because we understand how integral this is to adding jobs, quality of life, if they're going to sponsor any sort of sports or activities. These are not typical use. These are very like specific and like rare.
In other words, a diamond in the rough.
I think maybe to expand on the east side to your question, Penny. Oh, thank you, Carla. In the reality of our application, like in East Grand Forks, in order to set a TIF district, largely it requires more than 50% of the buildings to be considered blight or substandard conditions. So I would say that's a good thing for us. As it stands today, nowhere in our downtown would qualify because
I don't think so.
There are no buildings that are blighted or substandard. That's specific to redevelopment TIF district. There may potentially be other parts of town that we could prioritize if we're looking for a certain industry, prioritize potential use of a TIF to support that. But I wouldn't see it in real life application. I wouldn't see that being in our existing kind of downtown commercial areas.
Sure.
The housing is a separate thing. There's different requirements and standards for how to set a housing TIF district that don't require those substandard or blighted conditions. You could build it on open land, essentially. You could put a TIF on an open land district and do that.
And the TIF for housing has a unique element of pooled funds that are excess increment that's generated, and that can be used to improve sidewalks or community parks, things around it. So those typically go 26 years or shorter, determined based on the agreement, but those have that kind of unique element.
So the apartment building across the street and then the one on the corner, was TIF used for either of those?
For both.
For both. Yeah.
Yeah, the one in the corner where up north
Yep.
was actually a blighted area. That was, the gas station was there.
Yep.
So we had, the petroleum thing we had to use. I mean, this was before my time, but that's what that was for.
Yeah.
And then that was, the meaning behind that was to have the business on the main floor, which they wanted to do at the other apartment, but they just had a hard time trying to fill it. So that's why it's strictly an apartment building.
So when you're looking at a multi-use one with commercial and like housing, is that used differently for TIF? Like, obviously, we're not using the same TIF for the apartment building that didn't have the commercial. So does that go more towards a business sector of it rather than the housing? Or can we use both if we're doing a building like that?
Should be able to use both.
I was going to say, the housing one does not allow the commercial activity. So, and I don't think you could try to pigeon it in there unless it's like a certain percent or less. It's like 16% or less is used for commercial activity. So it'd have to be a different strategy if it's a mixed use.
That would be, in the case you're thinking of, the previous use of TIF in our community, those were both redevelopment TIFs. So they had maximum 26-year periods, and they can be used for a wider range of redevelopment or building. Even those were established in the 80s originally, those TIF districts. So we used the one across the street here, that's apartment only. We used some TIF funds to support the added brick facade, so it met our downtown standards. Those were funds derived from a redevelopment district that was put in place in the 80s and was still in place and ongoing until the early 2010s, right? A 26-year period.
We did have a loan for them, though.
Yeah.
We did, that we ran through the TIF, and then they paid it all back.
Yeah. And then the last pointer I was going to add on that is that as time has gone on in the state of Minnesota, the laws have evolved a little. So there was a period of time in the, I'm going to say 2000s, early part of 2010s, that the state was trying to support business retention and development within the state, and they modified for a period of time the rules around how redevelopment can be put in place, and they removed that 50% substandard building requirement, but it was only for a set, it was in place from 2011 to 2013, some period like that. You had to do it in that time. Now the rules are reverted back, requires the substandard buildings. So, in the real life example of how it was used downtown in those periods, it may not apply today, even though it did in the 90s and early 2000s.
And by districts, you're saying you can do it to certain areas of town?
Correct.
You could pick like the redevelopment area, the Simplot
Correct.
area, or you could actually specify where you want to use it.
That's correct.
So you don't have a bunch of applications or an unnecessary workload.
Right. It can be one or several parcels. I would just encourage we don't designate large areas, and definitely not the entire city. I've seen it happen.
So does the redevelopment district apply to the Simplot land?
It doesn't, because
It
it lights the
doesn't, right?
buildings.
Lighted
Yeah.
buildings.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay, so
I was just trying to clarify that.
Yeah, so it can't be used for
Can't be
new.
used for that.
Unless
In
they
that
want
new
to use it
area.
for housing, and then it could be considered potentially for a housing TIF. But it likely will be tax abatement or some sort of creative city financing for that.
Yeah. The other avenue, not to go totally into the weeds on it, but there in the conversation of the Simplot property, there have been some cities that have sought special legislation to get a special TIF district in place to kind of speak to that. There were substandard buildings. The previous owner tore them down, so it doesn't meet the current law. Could we have special legislation drawn that would allow it to qualify? I'm not at this point suggesting that that's where that goes. It's just, it is a potential option for us if we start talking months down the road and we still don't have a viable option for that property to be developed. Maybe it's something we have to consider.
So even with the Ryan Potato buildings there that need, some upgrading and whatever, that still won't fit for that district for that?
No.
Because of those buildings sitting in that property?
Unfortunately, no. There's so many standards. Maggie, I don't want to jump on you, but you've learned a lot more about it than I have. But if you combine those two parcels together, you would look at it and say, yes, it should qualify because the Ryan potatoes are clearly substandard and blight. But then there's the next rule. They have to be equally distributed amongst the property. So the area that the potato buildings stand would certainly qualify, but then the funds that are derived from the TIF district need to be repurposed on those buildings, and it still may not mean that the open space, the green land, we'll call it, of Simplot, would be eligible to receive any of the funds from it, because they're not the buildings are not equally distributed across the property.
Sure.
And when you define blight, does that have to be structures, or could it just be location?
Yeah. As I understand the law right now, what we've been advised, it means structures, and it would require the city to have a building official do an investigative report and write a letter to us that it was considered blight or substandard.
And it would also have to pass to the municipal advisor's review of just the preliminary process of, like, does this meet the but-for analysis? Is this property, would it actually attain the high value that they're proposing? So it does have a lot of fail-safes and controls already built in.
So I know a lot of this initial discussion came about because of that property, that trying to look to do something and get the ball rolling on it and get developers in here and working on it, or want to work on it in that aspect. But is there nothing that we have that we can have available for that property then?
Well, then that's
The
where
tax abatement.
tax abatement
That's where
would
the
slide
tax
in.
abatement comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also our
Does the tax
gap loan.
abatement even equal anything in significant compared to what a TIF district would?
It could. Certainly
Yeah.
could. Yeah. I think that could be a real competitive tool for us to use.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's part of this policy that Maggie has
Yes.
drafted and moved forward as well.
They'll have separate applications. Actually, just kidding. They've got the rubrics that we're grading off of, but then if somebody's specifically applying for TIF, there'll be an application for that versus an abatement one, because they do have slightly different nuances to it. But ultimately, these are wrapped into the same policy, because it kind of follows the same process for both.
And
But
these
the
have to
tax
be,
abatement is easier to
Get through.
police and less paperwork.
It depends. So depending on how you want to work it, tax abatement usually utilizes the city, the county, and the school district. If somebody's seeking tax abatement through all of those, it would have to be public hearings and meetings
Yep.
potentially with each.
The front end is
Yeah.
heavier maybe on that.
But I think from what I've read, it's a little bit more streamlined in the back end.
Okay.
So it just depends on how you want to, more work in the front, more work in the back.
and the TIF has to have those meetings as well, or just tax abatements?
Just tax abatement. TIF will require the city to make the decision to designate a district, and they'll have a public hearing. And then I read that the county has some sort of end statement to agree that it can be district, but it does not require the buy-in or subsidizing by the other entities.
So are you looking for a recommendation from us as a board as to which one you should focus on more?
No, I just want to know, does this policy look good? Do you feel like there's anything that should be added? Is there anything missing? Does it feel controlled? Does it seem like there's risk that's not mitigated? If there's anything that you've seen that you're like, we absolutely need to focus on.
Ought to be a wrong question.
Actually, I thought she did a very good job on putting it together, because when I read through it the first several times, I had to read through it the first several times. And then once it was refined and so to speak, simplified a little bit in the language aspect of it, it makes a bunch of sense to me. And,
Sure.
and then it was also following the rules and the statutes.
Okay.
And when you read through those, it can be mind-numbing just to follow all of it, because it's just,
So much.
yeah.
It's a lot of information
Yeah.
in
Oh,
here.
my God.
And,
Plus the wages and everything else.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's a lot of pieces to this.
and we've done these things, we've done this type of stuff. I mean, we do it all the time with property tax abatement, so it's a similar process where the county and the school system has to buy in. We've done it similarly with different business subsidies, where we've had them in the past where they've had to provide us with job growth and analysis, and typically we've done it that way. So it's not a new concept, it's just a matter of
Which policy?
she's putting together a specific policy to go through so that we have more of a structure
Which way to
to
go.
make a decision one way or another.
That makes sense.
And this was reviewed by Ron, our, let's see here, Kutak Rock, which is our municipal advisor, Ellers Financial, which is our municipal advisor. So they both read through it and offered edits and recommendations that have been merged into this final draft.
So basically, you're looking for a motion to make this gold,
Yes, because then the next step would be public hearing, if so.
correct?
So this is just basically this is the
Policy.
policy, the framework that you want to utilize. So this is like a tool in your toolbox to
Yes.
help get things through. We don't have anything identified at this point.
Correct.
That we want to use it on, but we want to have this ability.
Correct.
So no inquiries or anything yet, but we want to have it ready if we get development in.
We've had people who are interested, but we've had no official applications because we didn't have
An applicant.
Application.
a policy or anything. It did mention in our 2016 business subsidies agreement, the top line mentions gap loan, tax abatement, and TIF. However, it does not go on to specify how they were used or what the process is. So with Simplot coming up, we had people who were like, well, in order to make this work, we would need some sort of assistance potentially. So this is where this was born out of.
And to be competitive with Grand Forks and stuff, we need stuff to help,
Sure.
Correct.
especially really big businesses.
Yes. So essentially, this is just bringing us up to the state-allowed programs.
To give you a checklist for
Right.
this, that.
So then you need the recommendation.
We need a motion.
Go to the council or just us?
Yeah, so the next step would be, if you guys feel like it's good and there's no edits needed or anything of that nature, the next step would be June 16th to hold a public hearing at City Council for final approval.
I'll make a motion to bring this to the public hearing. I think this is really good.
Very good. Looking for a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign? Stump? He ain't listening. All right, great. Nice work.
Thank you. Also, I've heard that there's difficulty accessing your eastgrandforks.gov emails.
Yeah.
I made a how-to sheet and sent it to Brenda. If you need it, I can also send it to you. But there is a one-step that you do inside the Microsoft Outlook, so then it will just forward it to the email of your choosing. And there are no meetings. Okay.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Send that to
Okay.
me because I didn't understand a word you just said.
I got nothing.
Yeah, I hear the word Microsoft and I'm done. Yeah, no, look, yes.
Okay, I
I'll
can
give it to my
send that.
tech guy. He can do
And,
it.
and then there's no meeting in June or July, so please don't show up. Unless we have an emergency meeting and then do show up, but
All right, good job on the TIF and tax.
Yes, thank you.
abatement policy. New business, anything? Motion to adjourn?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
All opposed, same sign? Let's go with the roll. Let's roll on out.
yay.
That is a lot of information.